Hello, everyone. Happy weekend. I am so excited for today's episode. We have so much that we have to discuss. I don't think we have had this much to discuss in a hot minute, but we have a lot of true crime updates that I'm really excited to talk about. We have our Oscars recap. We have a lot of reality TV updates, some celebrity news, a lot of other random fun business type stories. So we just have so much to talk about. There's going to be something for everyone. No matter who you are, you're probably going to find something on this episode that's pretty interesting to you because we have a lot of good categories. So I'm really excited. But if this is your first time tuning in, hi, my name is Taylor. We really just talk about anything. There's no topic really that is ever off limits. So you never really know what stories I'm going to pull out on the weekend podcast episodes. But make sure that you are, if you're not already, if you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and give it a 5-star review. And I also do post on YouTube every single week. So you can see my pink background. You pretty much see my animals every week because they love being in the front of the camera. And then I also do post my timestamps of all the stories we talk about in the description box on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts. So if there's a certain story that you want to skip, or if there's something that you just really want to listen to, or you just are curious on what we're talking about that day, I do post everything in the description box. So you can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, I'm just really excited to chat with you guys. We do have a lot to get into, so I'm going to keep the intro really short and sweet. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into some hot gossip, hot takes, stories, and advice that will have you saying, literally, what? All right, so last Sunday, we did have the Oscars, and I'm going to be so real. I did not watch the Oscars for a couple reasons. Number one, I was pretty certain that Wicked wasn't going to win any of the big awards, and I really thought that they should have, and I was literally right because they didn't win any award that they should have won. I think they won a couple for, I think, costume design or set design. But other than that, any of the movies that won or were nominated, I have not seen. So it wasn't really of particular interest to me. The only thing that was of interest is seeing the opening. Obviously, there have been rumors that Cynthia and Ariana were going to do a really amazing 10-minute rumored opening of all different songs. So I did tune in to see that, and oh my gosh, was that not the most beautiful performance I've ever seen. And my favorite part was that they also added in other songs that weren't just from the Wicked soundtrack. So when Ariana sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, oh my gosh, queen. And I don't know if you guys noticed it, but her red dress, it was representing a ruby slipper that Dorothy wore. And so the back of her dress literally had the back of a ruby slipper with a heel. Amazing. So whoever came up with that, props to you. So the opening was just amazing, beautiful, just so, anyway, 10,000 out of 10. And then just to kind of see that they had them open, and Wicked, no matter who you are, that the movie Wicked came out and that it was a big deal and everyone's been talking about it. And the fact that they didn't win any of the awards I thought they should have won was just, it probably, I know they were genuinely way more upset than I am as just a viewer, but for them to have this huge performance and to have Wicked be such it was everywhere. I feel I couldn't go into any store without some kind of Wicked, merch or whatever. Even the whole cookies where you could go buy a cookie at the grocery store and it was either green for Alphaba, pink for Glinda. It was just that was the movie of the year, and for them not to win the big awards I think was just really upsetting. Yeah, so I'm glad I did not watch the Oscars. I think the Oscars probably is going to be losing a lot of viewership because I don't think anyone was happy with the outcome of the award show. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch it, but I did take notes on some of the big winners of the Oscars. So first was Best Picture, which again, the only one I have seen was Wicked, and I think that's the only one that should have won. But Anora did win Best Picture. And Anora, I believe, was the movie that won the most awards. I think they won 5 or 6 Oscars, which I had never heard of, again, until nominees of the Oscars were out. So Anora won Best Picture. And then the main girl, Mikey Madison, she won Best Actress for Anora. And then we had the Best Actor was Adam Brody for The Brutalist. I have seen a lot about The Brutalist, so I can agree with that because I've just heard a lot of good things about that movie. And then we had the supporting actress and supporting actor. And obviously a lot of people knew that Ariana was nominated for Glinda in supporting actress. And I think most people didn't really believe she was going to win it, and she didn't. And I genuinely am just like, ugh. It's frustrating, especially because literally Wicked was the movie of the year and she did such an amazing job. And I think that Glinda honestly is more of a lead actress than a supporting actress. Obviously, like Alphaba, yes, is the main girl, but like Glinda is, to me, like she just is the best. But yeah, so Ariana did not win that, unfortunately. That went to the Zoe girl for Amelia Perez. And I genuinely, like, I talked about this, I forget what award show it was, but if you guys go look at this song that is sung on this Amelia Perez, it's basically about this Mexican drug cartel, whatever they call it, main dude, and he is transitioning from man to woman, and the song is literally about, it's like the girl, the Zoe girl, and then the doctor talking about like switching from like a penis to a vagina. And like the fact that this movie has been winning so many things is crazy. Especially you have that song and then you have Wicked. I can't. I genuinely can't. But you guys need to look up that song. I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but it's insane to me how the Oscars can like look at this movie and be like, yes, this is Oscar worthy. And then look at other movies and be like, this is not Oscar worthy. Are you blind? Are you dumb? What's going on? I don't even know. But then we had supporting actor was Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain. He has been getting a lot of awards, and I have been meaning to watch the movies that he's been in. But yeah, again, didn't even see that movie either. Like literally the only movie I saw was Wicked. So what am I? Oh, and I have seen parts of The Substance, which I also think Demi Moore should have gotten an Oscar. But whatever. But then we did have Best Costume Design did go to Wicked, and Best Production Design did go to Wicked. And then The Substance did get an Oscar for Best Makeup, which if you've seen The Substance, yes, it should have definitely gone to them. Yeah, I don't know. And I think that the Oscars did get so much backlash that maybe next year they'll listen to what people are saying, and maybe more movies will be made that are like, I looking at the lineup of the movies that were nominated for the Oscars, I feel like not a lot of people were watching them except for Wicked. So I'm hoping that next year maybe there will be more movies that are more widely seen. Because again, last year we had Barbie and we had Oppenheimer and just so many great movies. And I feel like there haven't been amazing movies in a hot minute. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, that was the Oscars. I'm glad I didn't watch it. I was going to, and then, you know, whenever I see award shows on a Sunday night, it takes a lot for me to want to willingly stay up until like 11:30 to watch an award show where I just know I'm going to be disappointed with the outcome. So I'm glad I didn't watch it, but at least it had an amazing opening performance. And that was literally the only good thing it had going for it. So maybe next year, Oscars, but this year you actually sucked. So there we have it. All right, our next story is about a giant Kim Kardashian that has been spotted in Times Square. And say what you will about the Kardashians, but they do marketing unlike anything else, and I love the marketing. So basically, there is a 60-foot inflatable Kim Kardashian in the heart of New York City's Times Square, and it is turning heads both online and in real life. So it is a Skims ad campaign. Obviously, you've probably heard of Skims. And so they are releasing new skinwear, and so it's been on display in Times Square as a marketing tactic. And, you know, let me just say, it's being talked about everywhere, so their marketing is clearly working, and they just need to keep doing what they're doing. So a lot of people took to the internet, as they do when they don't like something, and a lot of people hated it, a lot of people loved it. Someone said, OMG, I cannot believe there's a 60-foot float of Kim Kardashian in the middle of Times Square. And then Kim Kardashian posted an Instagram story, and she said, OMG, I can't believe there's a 60-foot float of me in Skims swim in the middle of Times Square. So that was, I guess, obviously putting more emphasis on their marketing scheme. Is that what you call a marketing tactic, marketing campaign? I literally took marketing classes in college, and here I am not even knowing the proper terms. But anyway, so it was a blue Skims top and bottom that is being premiered in their new Swims collection, and it's just this big balloon of her in the Skims swimwear, and it's on a 4-foot blue like just big. You have to look at it. Like, it's huge. It's wrapped in the Skims logo, and it's literally like, you can't miss it. I mean, it's huge. And it's also such good marketing because like Kim K, she is just so well known, and like even her body, like her face, Skims, like all of it, you can't look at it and not know what it's for. Which I just think it's really cool to be able to have a brand and be someone who is just that well known. And I mean, it's great marketing for them. So the internet was very divided on it. I think it's great. I think it's a really great marketing campaign because, again, it's literally being talked about everywhere. And, you know, bad press is still good press because it's bringing awareness. Not that, again, she needs that much awareness because Skims is one of the best top brands. Someone wrote on Instagram, I don't care, Skims has the greatest marketing team. Another person wrote, I love Skims, this is awful. So it also just goes to show that on the internet, people are so divided and like everyone's going to have different opinions. And as I've said from the beginning of starting this podcast, everyone's going to have different opinions. And this world would be so boring if we didn't. Like, it just frustrates me also when people are like arguing when like they disagree with people. And it's like, everyone's going to like, why would you want everyone in the world to have the same opinion as you? Like, that would just get so annoying and boring. But yeah, I love it. I think it's really great marketing. And I wish I was in Times Square when this was blown up because that would have been so cool to get a picture in front of that. So go Skims marketing team. Love that for you. Okay, so next we have some news from my favorite celebrity in the world who can do no wrong, Post Malone. And this news was shocking to me because obviously we know Post Malone has had this fiance. They have a baby girl together, and he has kept her very, very private. Even when he goes on podcasts or interviews or anything like that, he is very private when it comes to her. But he has broken up with the fiance, which is crazy to me. I just always assumed that they would like or were secretly married and we would just never see anything about it. But he has been spotted with a new girlfriend after ending things with his fiance. Shocker. I was very shocked by this announcement. So reportedly, his ex and him quietly split at the end of 2024 and no one realized it because he's also been dating his now girlfriend since the beginning of 2025, and her name is Christy, and they have been spotted a couple times. They were spotted first in Rome at the beginning of this year in January, and then when this all came out, there's a video of Post Malone and his now girlfriend. She was kind of like had his hand or her hand on him, and it was at a local bar, PDA, and so someone recorded it. Post Malone waved to him, and then this is when everyone was like, that's not his fiance. And so everyone just kind of put the puzzle pieces together. Yeah, kind of crazy. I highly doubt we'll ever know what happened just based on how private him and his ex-fiance were. But him and his ex-fiance did have a child together in 2022. And yeah, so it's just weird because all I've known is him being with this very private girl, and now, you know, he spoke so highly of her too. Like even in interviews, he would just speak very kindly of her. He obviously has the song Yours about his little baby girl, and I just assumed that they would be happy together and in love for the rest of their lives. But unfortunately, it's not how the world works. So he's now with this Chrissy gal. And I need to do some snooping. I have not yet stalked her Instagram, but obviously I'm very happy for him. I just want Post Malone happy. He's literally my favorite person in the whole entire world. But it is sad to know that the mother of his child, they're not going to be together happily ever after. But hopefully this girl, Chrissy's going to keep him happy. It's weird like to see him dating because like it was always in my head like him and the very private fiance. And I also wondered, did that have something to do with it? Because you always have to think of like when you're dating someone in the public eye, does it ever just get too much? And especially if you're someone who does want to be very private, does it also affect the celebrity if they're like, no, I do want to show you off, and they're like, no, and it's all, and I don't know, we'll never know that because, you know, I'm not a celebrity or anything, but it's like interesting to think about how the privacy and the fame play into relationships, especially A-list celebrities, they tend to only date each other. I mean, it's not like they're dating a fan. So that's just easy because they're both always obviously in the spotlight. But when it comes to like a celebrity dating someone who's not a celebrity, like how does that factor in? So anyway, something to think about, some food for thought. All right, and our next story is about another celebrity breakup. And I didn't even know this was a thing, but it's a thing. But Emily Osment, she is filed for divorce from her husband 5 months after their wedding. So I did not know that she was married. I definitely didn't know that she separated from him and they're now divorced. But basically, Emily Osment and Jack Anthony are going their separate ways. So she filed for divorce 5 months after their wedding for irreconcilable differences, and they tied the knot in October of 2024, got engaged June of 2023. She has deleted the engagement announcement photo from her Instagram, and when a photo comes down from Instagram, there's bad blood usually, because I feel like if it ends on a good note, you leave pictures up on Instagram, and then if it ended on a bad note, you really take that off. And I have very funny stories that one day I will share of photos from people that have been deleted and removed and captions that are changed. And it's funny that social media plays such a big part in like knowing if something ended mutually and amicably or if it ended awfully. But she did delete the Instagram, and then court documents were obtained, and she listed the date of separation as December 7th, 2024, which is just 2 months after the wedding. And this is why I will say I feel like celebrities always rush into things and always rush into like getting married, and then it's like 7 months later, oh, they're divorced, oh, they're separated, and like it never works out. It's like all we have is time in this world. Like you can chill and get to know each other and not have to go through a divorce, because who wants to go through a divorce? No one wants to do that. But yeah, kind of sad. Maybe I did know that she was married, but like I just feel like I never heard. Actually, maybe I did, because she just did that reboot of Young Sheldon. I don't know. It's also obviously very sad for her to have to go through this. But yeah, I would love for her to go on a podcast and spill the tea, because that would be very interesting. And I wonder like who I would picture her with next. Who would Lily be with? Is Mitchell Musso single? What's up with that? Is he single? Wait. But I think, didn't he have stuff going on with like drugs? Probably. So maybe she shouldn't be with him. He seems single. But then again, who knows? Anyway. Okay. Our next story. This story is crazy. Crazy. And the story is, there is a past Olympian who is now on the FBI's most wanted list. And I have to read the line that this news article wrote because it's so funny and so good. So a former Canadian Olympic snowboarder turned alleged international drug trafficker is now listed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. So he went from skiing on the slopes to now dealing with other forms of, where is the line? Wait, I thought it was on this one. It was such a good line, you guys. Okay, here it is. Are you ready for this? Okay. So his last name's Wedding. So it said, Wedding went from shredding powder on the slopes of the Olympics to distributing powder cocaine on the streets of U.S. cities and in his native land in Canada. That's great. That's great rating right there. Like, someone give this person an award. So his name is Ryan James Wedding. He's 43 right now, and he is wanted for allegedly running a drug trafficking operation that regularly shipped hundreds of kilograms of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico, the U.S., and Canada for, drug distributing, and also for, because that's not enough, right? Just the like smuggling in hundreds of kilograms of cocaine, but also allegedly orchestrating multiple murders to further his illegal drug empire. Now, I want to know, what in an Olympian's mind does it shift from, I'm this successful snowboarder, I went to the Olympics, which is someone's, dream, one goal in life to get to the Olympics, to then I'm going to start this huge illegal drug empire. and also facilitate murders to help me grow in this legal drug empire. What in the heck is going on? So he was in the 2002 Winter Olympics, and now they're offering a $10 million award for information that leads to his arrest. Like, this is crazy. This is so crazy. So last June, him and his second in command, Andrew Clark, they were charged with felonies including running a criminal enterprise, murder, conspiring to distribute and export cocaine. And then in September, they added more murder charges and, discovered who all their co-conspirators were who were helping ship all the bulk cocaine. And they were doing this last January, so all of 2024. And to achieve their goals, the organization resorted to violence. So they apparently ordered the murders of 2 people from the same family in retaliation for a stolen drug shipment. Obviously. And they also ordered the murder of another person over a drug debt. Yeah. And so if they are convicted, they will face a mandatory minimum penalty of life in federal prison. They do believe that he's living in Mexico, but they haven't ruled out the possibility that he could be in the US or Canada or maybe Central America. So kind of crazy. Yeah. From the slopes to the big illegal drug corporation. Wow. Crazy people in this world. Alrighty, our next story is about TRISHA Paytas. So she announced that she is pregnant with baby number 3. So obviously she has her Malibu as her firstborn. She has Elvis as her secondborn. And I cannot wait to see what she names her third baby. I feel like it's so going to be another girl. And then she did stay on her podcast that this is going to be their last baby together. So they will have 3 little babies. I'm so happy for her. She'll have 3 under 3, which is kind of crazy. But I also I get the idea and the appeal of just having all the kids you want pretty soon. And then you kind of knock the early stages out and then just kind of have them all be best friends and close in age. But I cannot wait to see what the name was. And then it was interesting because on TikTok, Ezra, who is a big TikToker person on Dancing with the Stars, he's the newest pro. He commented under her post hopefully the baby comes in time for the new season of Dancing with the Stars, because there was chatter online that they really wanted TRISHA on Dancing with the Stars and that she would be a great partner with Ezra. And I do think a long time ago, TRISHA talked about how she did want to go on Dancing with the Stars, but because she had an OnlyFans, they didn't want her to be on the show. And I think that's why Tana Mojo can't either, because she has an OnlyFans. But then people online were like, well, Harry Jowsey was on Dancing with the Stars and he had an OnlyFans too. So I don't know if that's still a rule anymore. But if Trisha got on Dancing with the Stars, I mean, the show would blow up even more than it already has. And she would do so amazing. And I can see her so making the top 4 solely on votes, because she's just the best and has so many fans. And then, of course, it begs the question, when her first baby was born, it was when the Queen passed away. And then when the second Elvis was born, it was when the Prince Charles, I think it was, passed away. And so everyone's kind of who's going to pass away now and be reincarnated as TRISHA Paytas' third baby. So we'll see. We don't know. But I'm just so happy for them. And I really hope it's another girl. Yeah, we'll see. But congrats to them. Alrighty, so now we're going to talk about, this is a case that I have been following for years now. When it first was brought up, it was the Idaho murders case of the 4 college kids who were murdered. And I followed this case so closely. I was obsessed with it. I was making videos on it. And then obviously with the court system and just how slow everything takes, it's still he still hasn't been, what is it even called? I don't know. But there have been updates on the Idaho murders case. And this was crazy because if you've been following the case, basically there were these 4 roommates. And then how do I even explain? I would need to do a whole separate episode. Basically, all you need to know is there were 4 people who were killed by Brian Koberger, and the fact that he still hasn't been, I don't even know what the wording is. What the heck is wrong with me? Anyway, there were 2 surviving roommates, and, you know, when the case was coming out, a lot of people were like, oh, well, they still had something to do with it. And it's like, no, they literally didn't. But there wasn't a lot of information coming out about the 2 roommates because people were like, well, why didn't they call the cops and blah, blah, blah. So there are now text messages that have come out between the 2 surviving roommates, which is something that we have never seen. All we knew is that, you know, they were there, they were awake, and they did see this, you know, man with bushy eyebrows walking past and like leaving the house after he murdered everyone. And so now we can see these text messages and like what they were talking about, which is a big, big thing. So newly released text messages and phone calls show the fear of 2 University of Idaho students as someone broke into their home and murdered 4 of their housemates in 2022. So first roommate wrote to the one, I'm freaking out. And these texts were sent 8 hours before they called the police because one of the roommates was unconscious. They were actually killed. So they were texting each other and they said, no one is answering. I'm really confused right now. What's going on? I'm freaking out. They texted the other roommate and who obviously was murdered as well. And just said like her name, what's going on. And then they were talking about there's someone in like a ski mask. I'm not kidding. So freaked out. And then said, come to my room, run. So prosecutors want to use these text messages to piece together the timeline, because one thing to remember is like this is like 4 a.m. after everyone had been out drinking. So these 2 roommates were still probably drunk. And, you know, if you've been drunk before, like your brain isn't probably thinking, oh, this person that I'm seeing just murdered the 4 people upstairs. And they also knew that this was like a big party house. They always had people coming in and out of their house. It's a college party house. I mean, like they're in college. They see people all the time. They probably did not think, oh, everyone upstairs is being murdered. The sounds I'm hearing is my roommate getting stabbed with a knife. So I hated the fact that the 2 roommates were like blamed for this, because honestly, if I was like drunk and I heard things and it was just like at a house where I knew that there were always people, I would be scared, and maybe I would think someone's breaking in and maybe like they were leaving. I wouldn't just go straight to like, oh, everyone's being murdered right now. And this case is so interesting. I highly recommend everyone kind of just like look into it, especially if you are in college, because like, you know, if you are a house that has a lot of people, and also, you know, it's very, it was an open house. Like they didn't really have blinds. You could like kind of see in very easily. It's a very sad case. And you can tell just like, so Brian, who obviously did it, and like, I don't know why we're still even discussing this, but, he definitely had everything planned out to a T. He had everything factored in. The only reason I believe that he did get caught is because he left the knife sheaths, like the cover of the knife that he used in the killings. He left it there, and that's how they got the DNA, because they went to his dad's house and they got the DNA from the dad. It matched the knife sheath to like 99.99% of a match of DNA. And so that's literally the only reason I think why he got caught, is because he made one mistake and he left the knife sheath there. And that's the only reason he got caught. Everything else was so planned out perfectly. I mean, we still don't know who the target was, because there was the one roommate. So how do I explain it all? There were 4 roommates, and then one of the girls' boyfriends was staying there. He was one that was murdered. The 2 at the bottom, the Dylan and I think Bethany, they were not murdered. And then Kaylee and Madison, one of them was just like up visiting her. And so we'll never know like who the target was, or if he knew they were all there, or if he was just there to kill one person and then he saw all these other people there and had to kill them. Crazy case. So wild. And the fact that like he's still convicted, that's the word. The fact that he's still not convicted is just very frustrating. yeah, but basically the prosecutors are claiming they have DNA evidence that tie him to the crime scene. They're seeking the death penalty if he's convicted, but then Koberger's attorneys are questioning the accuracy of the DNA and asking for the death penalty to be taken off the table. And I don't even know why, like, this happened years ago, and it's like so frustrating. Okay, so the trial is set for August 11th. And he was arrested in 2022. So this will be like 3 years after. Like, what? Okay, and then there were more texts. So the two roommates, again, in the basement, who were not killed, they texted the roommates upstairs and were texting like, please answer, are you up? And all these texts are very helpful because it shows that like the girls really didn't know what was going on and they were freaked out. And didn't think that the roommates were literally dead upstairs, because who thinks that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people's minds automatically go to that. But a really sad case. Also a very interesting case if you do like true crime. Yeah, just wild. And I'm ready for him to be convicted because this has been going on for so freaking long. And maybe this is how long it takes for cases like this, but it's so frustrating. Speaking of frustrating cases and people that I literally hate, Casey Anthony has joined TikTok years after the whole her being found not guilty of murdering her daughter Kaylee, which is a whole other thing that we could get into and I could do a whole other episode on because I just but anyway, so she made her social media debut on TikTok last week on March 1st. So over a decade after she was acquitted of 1 count of murder and aggravated manslaughter on her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. She is now saying that she's a legal advocate. She is a researcher. She's been in the legal field since 2011. She feels it's necessary, if she's going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that she starts to advocate for herself and also advocate for her daughter. So she is now wanting to use her newly launched TikTok page to share advice and be accessible to users through email, which she also hopes will refine her public image. She said, the whole point of this is for me to reintroduce myself. I'm doing this both personally for me, but in a professional capacity. Moving forward, the majority of what you see will be me speaking on a professional capacity. My goal is to continue to help give a voice to people and to give people tools. I can't even read this anymore because she just like pisses me off. And the fact that like there's people following her TikTok account make me want to pull my hair out. And it's just crazy to me that we're in a time and age where people who should have been convicted of murder now feel an entitlement that they can make a TikTok page and be a legal advocate. Like, what are you talking about? And the one thing that a lot of people were saying online, and what I was thinking, is like, okay, well, if you're going to be online and be this legal advocate, why are you not trying to find the actual murderer of your baby girl? Because you're not doing that. It just like so crazy to me. So yeah, she's now on TikTok. She does have people who are following her, which I think is actually insane. And yeah, just crazy that Casey Anthony is on the TikTok app. Insane. So those are the true crime stories we had for today. Like, obviously true crime is not fun. Like, it's very sad and like awful stories. But, you know, if you are a crime junkie or you like true crime like I do, it's always fun to have a different kind of story that are not just about like celebrities and like what they're up to. So anyway, so now we have some little business news, and this is about Celsius and Alani Nu. Obviously, 2 competing energy drinks, but now they're going to be the same brand because Celsius bought Alani Nu, and Alani fans are concerned. Now, I am an Alani girl. When I was in college, everyone was talking about Celsius, and I had a couple that I would try to drink. And when I tell you, like, I got so sick and nauseous from the Celsius, and like my brain felt foggy. Like, I felt so awful, and I have not had a Celsius in years. I hate them. They make me feel awful. And I found Alani's, and I love Alani. This is not sponsored. I just love Alani. Like when we go to the store, I pick up an Alani for like every single day. This is the only energy drink that I can drink that does not, one, make my anxiety spike up, that two, doesn't make me nauseous, and three, doesn't give me that like brain fog, almost like a tiredness that an energy drink should not give me, tiredness. So when I heard that Celsius is buying Alani Nu, I literally started freaking out because I hate Celsius and I love Alani. So people, again, are either Team Celsius or Team Alani Nu, and they throw their entire personalities behind, you know, one energy drink or the other, me being Alani Nu. And so now Celsius bought Alani Nu. And so everyone, you know, is asking, is Alani Nu going to change? Like, is it going to have a different look? Someone said, are they going to change their name to Fahrenheit Nu? So there's a lot that is still unknown, but I do remember seeing a comment on TikTok from the Alani Nu, and they basically said, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I also, in the back of my head, was like, okay, but you're being bought by Celsius, so I don't really think you're going to have a say if they want to change something about you. So the head of Celsius mentioned that the change will broaden the availability of Alani Nu's functional products, and mentioned that Celsius can unlock key growth opportunities for Alani Nu. So maybe we're going to have like more flavors and maybe get them in more stores. Yeah, I'm not happy with this at all because, again, we're not really going to know until there's this change, but I hate this so much because I cannot stand Celsius, and hopefully they don't change it. Like, maybe they'll just kind of buy it just to buy it and like leave it be. I don't know. I'm nervous. Very nervous, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Okay, our next story is some TV news, and it is about a White Lotus star. So a White Lotus star was hospitalized for a snake bite while filming on set. So if you watch White Lotus and you've watched the most previous episode, I had to literally close my eyes for like a third of the show because one of the main storylines is this couple, they go to like this snake charming thing, and I can't even like look at a snake without like freaking out and having panic attacks, so I had to like keep my eyes closed the whole time. But White Lotus star was rushed to the hospital after a poisonous snake bite, and it caused the actor enough agony that it felt like dying a slow death. So Walton Goggins, who plays Rick on the third season of White Lotus, I guess this isn't really spoilers, but basically in the episode, he releases a cage of venomous snakes because he's super high and like feels bad for them and wants to free them. And so then in the show, his girlfriend, who is played by Amy Lee Wood, she gets bitten by one of the loose snakes and is taken to the hospital. But he went on Jimmy Kimmel Live and was talking about how when they were filming, he actually got bitten in real life, and it was awful for him too because he is very, very scared of snakes. So when the time came to handle the snakes, he was so paralyzed with fear that he just forgot all of the safety precautions when the scene began. He said, I had the snake handler right off camera because when I picked up the snake, I literally started crying uncontrollably, which, let me just say, as someone who's terrified by snakes, like, you couldn't even pay me enough. I would have been like, no, I'm actually quitting the show. I'm not doing this. And so then they were trying to walk him through how to handle it and like, don't touch this cage because this snake will kill you, blah, blah, blah. And so he was just like, literally all I could think about is like the snake and like it could kill me and blah, blah, blah. And so I wasn't thinking about anything else. So then they yelled action. He forgot which snake could potentially kill him. And so when he tried to pull out the green snake, it was the wrong one. And the snake turned around and bit him. So then he went to the hospital. And he had to get a tetanus shot. Yeah. So if you are afraid of snakes and you are going to watch White Lotus, just remember season 3, episode 3, it's a scene with a ton of snakes, and like I had to skip the whole thing. So still a great show. Really like boring episode though, like literally nothing happened. And again, I know it's a slow show, but like I need something to happen because I'm losing interest. Okay. Let's make something happen. Alrighty, so now we can get into our little recaps of The Bachelor and the Traitors finale, which, what a great ending. But we're going to talk about hometowns really quickly. So we had 4 hometowns. We had Juliana's hometown in Newton, Massachusetts. Then we had Zoe's hometown in New York City, Latia's hometown in Wyoming, and Dina's in Chicago. So Juliana's, again, she is my front runner just based on everything I've seen throughout the whole entire season. But they did a cute little pizza making date, and then they went and met her really big family. I just love that episode so much because I love just seeing all the different like families and like just how different everyone is, and also just thinking about like Grant, who has to kind of meet all the different families, and I'm sure that like that plays such a big role in, you know, what he's thinking about like long term. But her hometown was just so cute. Her family was so sweet, and my money is on her winning. Okay. Then we got to Zoe's hometown, and I genuinely like, I don't know how she's still here, because I remember texting my friends like episode 2, and I was like, I need her to be off this show, and now she's gonna be literally making it all the way to fantasy suites and maybe top 2. Like it's just wild to me. But for their little date, they did, I kid you not, a wedding photo shoot. So they literally dressed up. They did a first shoot as like an engagement. So we had to like get down on one knee and like propose. And then like they did engagement photos. And then they did like a wedding shoot on a rooftop where like she was literally in a wedding dress. I don't know who came up with this, because if this was the producers, like it was so awkward. Like, who does a wedding photo shoot at hometowns? Guys, I actually can't. I was dying the whole entire time. Like, I was crying laughing because it was just like, seriously? And then he met the family, whatever, like I don't see any connection between them, and maybe they do have connection, and like producers are just like sucking this season at showing any connections that he has with anyone except Juliana. Like, I don't know. But what a weird hometown. That was wild. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, full professional photo shoot. You're not even like, what are you even doing? Anyway, then we had Latia's hometown in Wyoming. They rode some horses. She just, to me, she's so sweet, and her whole family was really, really sweet. And it was really nice seeing like the dad and like her whole family just talk about like, we really trust her. And obviously like their whole family's Mormon, but it was nice that they were talking to Grant about like, you know, you are a man of faith, and like that's enough for us. Like, we don't need you to convert to Mormonism. And so I think that probably was like a weight off of his shoulders, but I still think that that's going to be like a little bit of a like point off of Latia for him. I don't know if that's how it works, but then it was just really sweet seeing Latia talking with her grandfather, and then we have her saying, you know, like she's going to be really upset and wouldn't want him to sleep with other girls. And we've seen this cause issues in past seasons, so we'll see how Grant handles the situation. Yeah, we'll see. But really cute hometown. Loved that one. And then we had Dina's hometown in Chicago. This was the weirdest hometown because her family didn't show up, because apparently like her dad's like a pastor or something, and like the thought of her on The Bachelor and like Grant dating a ton of people is like doesn't look good. I feel like the family really, really screwed her. Again, I never saw Dina and Grant together, but I think that maybe if he met the family and it went well, he wouldn't have picked Zoe and he could have picked Dina. But yeah, just such a weird hometown. And like, I feel like her family would have told her this before she went on, or maybe they just thought that she wouldn't even make it that far. And that's why like when she made it to hometowns, she was probably like, oh crap, yeah, my family's not going to be doing this. But kind of sad. But anyway, so Joey showed up. It made me miss his season so much because we'll never have another Joey. And Grant, you know, I don't think Grant's like a bad bachelor. He's just like so boring. Like just the whole season is boring. But then we had all of the girls kind of sitting down and chatting and talking about their, you know, hometowns. And then when Zoe was like, we did like a, you know, photo shoot that went on like a magazine. And I was like, girl, that's embarrassing. And then Dina just like sitting there because they were all talking about how like they were with all their families and she was just like sitting there and wasn't with her family. I would like literally like hold a grudge for so long if my family did something like that. But that's why the only reason I think like they must have not thought she would make it to hometowns, because I feel like she would have known, or like her parents would have been like at least told her, communicated like we don't like this, and like if you do make it to hometowns, like we're not going to be on. But I don't know. But yeah, then we have Women Tell All next week. I just saw the seating chart of how it's set up, and Carolina's right front and center. And you know what? That's probably all she really wanted. So it'll be interesting to see what she has to say. And again, I feel like everyone's literally just going to be ganging up on her. Whatever. We'll see. Because there's been a lot of like social media bickering back and forth, especially on TikTok with the girls. I don't know if they're allowed to do that, but there's going to be a lot, I think, that is talked about at Women Tell All based on, you know, the girls being on TikTok and arguing and fighting. So I feel like a lot of that will be brought up because TikTok is messy, man. But just overall, the season's been a little bit of a letdown. He hasn't had great connections with any of the girls except like Latia and Juliana. And again, maybe he's had great connections, but like the producers are not doing a great job at editing and making the episodes. So, it just, I feel like is a really bad season, especially, you know, bringing Zoe to a hometown and like she hasn't even had a one-on-one, and like that was awkward and weird, and just, it was just a weird season. So we'll see how it ends. I think it's going to be down to Latia and Juliana. Obviously, we see that he is struggling between the two because he does have great connections with those two. It's just, that's about it. But anyway, we'll see how Women Tell All and Fantasy Suites goes. So now we can talk about Traitors, the finale. Oh my gosh, you guys. So obviously we ended on a cliffhanger where we didn't know who Brittany was going to be voting for. They held that out so long. And I genuinely thought that just seeing the reunion outfits and seeing everything, I thought that, you know, the Traitors might win. But when she turned it around and wrote Danielle's name down, I was so happy. I was like, okay, I don't even care who wins now. I don't even care if freaking Brittany wins. Like, I'm just glad Danielle is out of there. So that was amazing. And I think what happened is, I think that Brittany thought Dolores was going to vote Danielle. So then like her vote wouldn't have been the deciding vote. But then like Danielle getting mad, it's like, you know what? It's a game. And like Brittany was just kind of going, because again, like she doesn't want to be outed as a traitor. And so like if everyone's having all this evidence against Danielle, it makes sense for Brittany to vote with the group. Otherwise, it's kind of like target on her back kind of vibes. So I was so excited. I don't know why Danielle was so mad at her, but whatever. And then we had Brittany get the freaking seer, which like I feel like if a traitor gets the seer, it's pointless. Like the whole seer thing was very, very pointless to me personally. And then Dylan, you know, he just starts being smart again, being like, well, if Brittany says that Gabby's a traitor, or if one of us is a traitor, obviously that's her putting a target on their back, and then that means that she's probably a traitor, blah, blah, blah. So Brittany ends up asking Gabby, obviously Gabby's a faithful, and then Brittany shares that she's a faithful, which even if she did say Gabby was a traitor, like, then Gabby would know that she 100% was a traitor. I don't know. The whole seer thing, I feel like if it was played earlier on in the season, maybe. And like, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of pointless. But anyway, then Brittany was kind of going around, because again, they still have one more round table. So then Brittany was going around throwing out Dylan's name randomly, which that's a red flag. Like if someone's just randomly throwing out a name out of nowhere, it's probably because they're trying to get their name off of everybody's lips. And I don't know why people didn't clock that earlier. But anyway, so then round table, you know, they brought up Brittany, and then of course Brittany was then putting it on Dylan, blah, 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 which I guess good for her for like trying to get herself to stay. But they voted Brittany out. I was so happy, but again, they didn't know if she was a traitor or not. And so then they all are at the ring of fire, or fire of truth, or whatever it's called. And I was really nervous because I 100% thought that Dolores is going to throw red, everyone else is going to throw green, and they were going to get Dylan out. And I was going to be so mad because I wanted all of them to win because this was the first time I think where it's been that many faithfuls at the end. And I literally was like, Dolores has been the worst faithful ever. She's voted wrong 8 out of 10 times. She's going to throw red in that fire. And I was going to be so mad. And she didn't. She threw green. I was shocked because I really did not, especially because they made her go last. So great editing on their part. But they all won. And I was so happy. And I just remember before that, when Gabby, they were all doing their like exit interviews or whatever. And Gabby said in the interview that if she won, like she could get married to her girlfriend. And literally one of the things was that Gabby and Robbie Hoffman, they got married in Vegas this past January, and they just announced it like right before the reunion. And so literally I said the faithfuls obviously won because they just got married, and I was just so happy. So I kind of knew already when she said that like the faithfuls would have won. But I was just so happy of her, like so proud of them. So exciting. Yeah, just a great ending. So then we had the reunion. The reunion outfits looked amazing. And again, like people were really nervous that the Traitors won because Danielle's outfit was green and people thought she was symbolizing money. But yeah, so then they started talking about like how Danielle was swearing on her grandkids and how she did say that. And I think it was brought up because Chrishell went on a podcast and was saying how like this was never aired, but Danielle kept swearing on her grandkids, which is awful. And Danielle was literally like not even saying it was bad. She was just like, yeah, I did it. Like you would have believed that, like if I said that. And I was like, that's an awful thing to do. Why would you like? And like she didn't even say sorry, like feel bad for it. So that was wild to me, personally. Yeah, and then they brought out like the faithfuls. I didn't really remember half of them were on the show, but I loved the whole Boston Rob and Dylan's bromance together, and the montage of like everyone in the house being like, oh, well, Carolyn can never be a traitor. Danielle can never be a traitor. It was so funny because obviously they were all traitors. What else? It was interesting when Robin, one of the faithfuls, she said something to the effect of like, you know, people who are watching, they know who the traitors are. And so you kind of have to put yourself in our shoes where it's not us looking at 3 people. It's us looking at 23 plus people and having to try to figure out who we trust and don't trust. And that kind of put it into perspective because obviously I know that they don't know, but it was also helpful to be like, that's true. Like they're looking at 20 plus people and that's got to be really, really hard. Obviously when we're watching the show, it's very easy for us to be like, how could you not tell? Like, but you know, they're there for hours with everyone and there's probably a lot that we don't see. And that's why I really want them to do a season where we as the viewers don't know who's a traitor. I think that would be so cool. Or if they could edit it to like, there's one version where you know who the traitors are and then there's one version where you don't know. But I think that would be so fun because then we could kind of see in a way like how it is. But yeah, and then they did, Danielle won the best actor. But like she was so over the top. That should have been obvious as like a giveaway that she's a traitor, but whatever. But yeah, I was insanely happy with how it ended. I cannot wait to see who they get on the show. I think that this season probably brought in a lot of viewership. So I think that they might get a lot more well-known reality people for the next season. And I'm just so excited for that. And also one last thing, apparently Dylan Efron does have a girlfriend, but he hasn't posted with her since like 2020. And so everyone is now like really upset because everyone thought he was single and like kind of shipping him with like Sierra or like, you know, different people. And he literally apparently has a girlfriend. So there's that. But anyway, wow, that was a lot of stories and information, but just so much was happening. Oh my gosh. But now Traitors is done. So we will not have any more Traitors recaps, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I had so much fun putting it together. So many good stories. And again, make sure that if you are watching on YouTube to hit the like button and subscribe. I really want to try to get to like maybe 100 subscribers by I don't know when, but that would be really cool. And then if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, just go ahead and scroll to the top and hit the 5 stars, and go ahead and follow the Instagram as well, because I do post some things on there. But yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing rest of your weekend, an amazing next week, and then I will see you back here next week for some more hot gossip, hot take, stories, and advice that will have you saying literally what. Bye guys.